Hello and welcome to our conversation. I am here with Clarissa Burt, and she is the president and CEO of Limelight. And we are going to be talking about her upcoming book, or actually, it's already out. I shouldn't say upcoming, The Self-Esteem Regime. And Clarissa, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you've come from, and then we'll dive into the book.
Yeah, well, right now, I'm founder and CEO of In the Limelight Media, which is a multimedia platform that consists of television and video and a podcast and a digital magazine and all kinds of fun things that we do here to get content out. And we basically cater to solopreneurs and entrepreneurs that want to get the word out about their brand, their message, their voice, and we raise brand awareness every day. So I love what I do. I love the microphone. I love a camera, and I love getting other people in front of the camera that never thought that they could. I hear so many people say, "Oh, I could never do what you." Yeah, you could, and you're going to because I
Well,
wrote a
and
book.
part of that is probably because of self-esteem, right? So let's jump in and talk about it.
Yeah.
What
So I'm
happened?
very excited. Yeah, the book dropped about 6 weeks ago. It's called The Self-Esteem Regime. It is an action plan for becoming the confident person you were meant to be. Shout out to Gary Krebs because he's an extraordinary ghostwriter. It was picked up by Rowman and Littlefield in New York City. So that was already pretty exciting to be, in COVID year, which was, we were talking about now 2020. To be picked up by a New York City publisher was really exciting.
Yeah.
After which we were picked up by Recorded Books for the audiobook. And then, next thing you know, I'm in Barnes and Noble and I'm doing book signings at Barnes and Noble. So then I like check.
Right,
Three
right.
of my, three of my greatest wishes and dreams on the vision board came true. So not only because there were things that I wanted to accomplish, but also because for me, it's not just, the book isn't a manual. For me, it's a mission and a movement because I'd love to be able to see all human beings living as esteemed beings
Beautiful.
and in happy, healthy self-esteem.
I love that. So I get that about you. And so tell me more about why it's important to you and what can one do to acquire being an esteemed being. I like that.
Yeah, well, I think first off, I don't think that you get off of this planet without having some issue somewhere along the line.
Right.
You could come from, the greatest parents in the world, the greatest childhood, and whatever else, and all that's great. But life is life, and you're gonna have your triggers, and something's gonna trigger you, and it's probably gonna make you feel pretty miserable somewhere along the line. I don't think that anybody really has ever gone, "Gee, I'm just not good enough." Somehow, somewhere, and in some situation, I'm not good enough. And so that whole good enough scenario is something that I just want to, sort of like blast out of the water and forget about it, because you're right, you're not good enough. You are so much more than enough. And that's the one thing that I want everybody to get. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. If you think about enough, I think the definition of enough is, just enough to sort of, fit the bill kind of thing. And no, or that's not what we are. We are not just enough to do. We are so much more than enough. And I want, to make sure that everybody gets that message loud and clear, because just shooting for enough, that is so not enough.
Yesterday. Yeah. Yeah. Not
Just
enough.
so not enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so why now? Why does it feel like this message is important now?
Yeah, it was really important for me for a really long time. And Gary, I was at an event and Gary was there and I was on stage. And when I got off of the stage, he came over and he said, "Oh, I got to write your book." And I thought, well, that's kind of a really cool thing, because it's a universe sending an angel that's going to help me get the word out. Because honestly, Laurie, if I had to sit down and write a book, it's not going to happen. I don't have the time. I don't have the patience. I'll talk your ear off, but I won't sit down and write the book. So he came along, made it all happen. I had 3 meetings with him in between New York City and Connecticut, because he's an East Coaster. And I flew in, I did all the dumping I needed to do, and exactly formulated the book I wanted to see it and how it would read. And he just, he filled in all the blanks for me, which were great. So I really love the idea of that collaboration. And, you would think, wow, it's kind of a book more for women. Why would she go with a ghostwriter that was a guy? I'll tell you, he picked it up in a flash. He knew exactly what we needed to do. And the book is replete with 12 different chapters, starting with release. which I
Mm.
think is the most important of them all.
Yeah.
Just kind of release all the old stuff and anything that you thought was serving you that isn't. Get rid of it. And then from there we start with rebuild and kind of all the other things, reciprocal and reaffirm. There are a lot of different affirmations in the book, exercises in the book. We've got case studies in the book. We've got Clarissa's Corner. There are clarion calls. There are all kinds of fun. It's an easy read where the work that you're going to do, the homework that I leave you with, is not going to be so easy sometimes. Some
Yeah.
of it's going to be rather uncomfortable. And you have to be, if you want to see the light at the end of the tunnel, you're going to have to do the work.
Yeah.
I often say that if your self-esteem isn't intact by the time your feet hit the ground in the morning, then you're probably going to have some issues with yourself, and most definitely you're going to have issues with others. So let's work on that. And it ebbs and flows as life does. Whatever life brings to us is how we sort of measure ourselves at times,
Mhm.
with self-esteem. So I really like the idea of having all of these chapters at the ready, and then going back and reading it again a second time, and then a third time. There are books that people read more than once, right?
Yes.
And they go back and they, geez, I didn't see that the first time, or I didn't pick
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
up when I read it the last time, or that sort of. This is the kind of book that is also.
I love that.
You want to,
Hey,
yeah, and self-esteem is not, yay, I get the award now, 100%, 100% self-esteem. Never, no, that's not going to happen.
is there like a perfect bar of self-esteem, would you say?
No,
Yeah.
no, there's no perfect.
Yeah.
And you can, you have to be open to the idea, that, as I said before, life ebbs and flows. Things are going to be thrown at you. The rug is going to be pulled out from under you. You're going to be triggered. Things are going to be painful, and you need to know how to
Yeah.
navigate those waters. And with a book like this, whether you read it once or you go back to it time and time again,
Yeah.
or just read the chapter you think you may need in the moment.
Yeah, perfect.
You
It
know,
sounds like a good
yeah,
vessel to have on the
yeah,
waters of the oceans. So,
yeah.
would you tell us about the four pillars of self-esteem according
Yeah,
to how you
love
said
to.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're quick and they're easy, but they sort of encompass everything that is, as far as I'm concerned. That is, look good, because you're feeling pretty good when you're looking good. When you're looking good and you're looking your best, you know that you're feeling pretty okay. That's number one. Um, Feel good. Diet, exercise, and nutrition. You know how they all work one off of the other, right? The head and the heart and the body—they're all working
Concert.
uh, yeah, in concert with one another. And so you have to be able. I'm sorry about that dinging. I'm going to get rid of that right away. You have to make sure that ding ding. You have to make sure that you're keeping yourself in balance physically, because that is going to make you feel really great. So now we've got look good, we've got feel good, be good. It's everything you're thinking. It's all of your education. It's where you're getting your education from. What news are you reading? Who is it that you are allowing to influence you? And so those be good things, your finances, making sure that all of that is happy and healthy and in good stead, right? And then the last is the greater good. So your greater good is where you're giving back, you're paying it forward, you're tithing, you're volunteering, and you're just feeling good about helping others feel really good.
Mhm.
And I mean, that to me is the quickest way. I mean, silly things like, I held an elevator door for somebody that was running, or I helped a woman down the stairs that had a baby carriage, or all this, or a simple smile sometimes is all it takes. That that it's a little gift that you're giving to someone, and you hope that it's well received, and it was, and you feel good about it.
Yeah.
So again, it doesn't have to be huge things that you're doing. It's the littlest things. A lot of times it's just those kind things that we're doing.
Yeah.
And then of
Kind.
course, you could work on bigger things too, but the greater good is who are you really at your core?
Right.
Who are you when no one else is looking and no one else is listening? Who are you?
So, in light of those four pillars, you've reintroduced the mirror therapy in your book. So do you want to say a little bit more about that? I know Louise Hay
Some
was
of the
the
most
original.
I think it's one of the most powerful exercises of all. And of course, Louise Hay adopted it in her book, and I know that Jack Canfield has used it in his works. And it's one of the kind of things that people kind of shy away from, kind of feel silly. It doesn't necessarily land well, but when you start, it's an avalanche. I mean, the amount of emotion that comes up when you look at yourself square in the eye, or the eyes, because we have two, and you say to yourself, I really, really love you. I forgive you. I am here for you. I've got your back. You know, the universe is conspiring now with me or with us for our greatest and highest good. Man, I'll tell you, some of the craziest, fun, happy, healthy things happen. And I love the words happy and healthy. I use them frequently because I think that those are two, pretty simple words that kind of say it all.
Right. So I have a question. What advice would you give to someone who isn't anywhere near happy and healthy or can't look at themselves in the mirror and say, I love you, or I forgive you, or even I accept you? Like, where would you have someone who isn't there start?
Well, as I said before, stop. Well, first of all, the first thing is for me as self-esteem 101 is stop comparing yourself to everyone else, because you get to be you this time. You get to be you in this lifetime. The universe is a pretty powerful entity, and you can, whatever it could be, your faith. You might have a God, a Buddha, a Krishna. It doesn't matter who your divine entity and source is. But do you think they didn't know what they were doing?
Hmm.
Do you
Well,
really
especially
think for a
since
moment?
they are us. So,
Right. Do you really think that, that these all-knowing and powerful energies didn't know exactly what they were doing when they created you? So who are you to second guess them? And stop comparing, number one. Number two, I said it before, you are enough. You're more than enough. The enough thing, we got to get rid of that.
Mhm.
You're not enough. You are so much more than enough. And so open yourself to all the possibilities. Forgive yourself for whatever you think you've got to forgive. I don't know, all that forgiveness stuff. Just work on yourself. Work on your self-acceptance. Work on your life's purpose. Work
And
on
you're
your
outlining your implementation in your book will tell the reader how to actually do all of this. That's important.
self-responsibility.
Get the book, and then you'll be able to
Take
do this.
responsibility. You've got to take responsibility for who you are and for how your life is playing out. You are the writer, the director, the producer, and the distributor of your film, of
Right.
the film of your life.
Right.
So, get it done, get it cleaned up and get it out there. And it's not going to be perfect the first time around. There are going to be, some edges that are going to need to be, softened, and you do that as you go, just do it as you go. But
And you
start somewhere.
start somewhere, right? Start somewhere and just put one foot in front of the other. You also underline living in a constant or near constant state of gratitude. Do you want to say more about that?
Yeah, and we hear a lot about that too. But I'll tell you, I wake up in the morning and I immediately thank for a warm, soft bed with
Mhm.
blankets. I thank for a good night's sleep. I thank for the food I'm about to eat. I thank for the roof that was over my head. This is within the first minute.
Mhm.
I thank for my health. I thank for my family. I thank for friends. I thank for the work that I'm about to do that gets me up and gasses me every day because I love what I do. I
Mhm.
love media. I love talking. I love a microphone. I love a camera. I love helping other people get there. I love helping them get their message out. This is a time, have been two very difficult years, these last 2 years. And I think that the idea that it's a book about self-esteem coming out right now, by the way, I call it a regime for a
Mhm.
reason. A regime is an organized way of doing things. That's all
Mhm.
that means. And so we've gotten it into, I'm not going to say bite size, but they're easy to read chapters with a little bit of work that needs to be done so
Right.
that, everyone is different. It's going to be a different read for you, Lori, than it's going to be for your next door neighbor.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you also offer case studies and affirmations and just
Yeah.
other tool. It's a toolkit. It's a toolbox is the way
It
I
is.
would
It
say.
is. So again, as I had told you, the book starts out with release, and we end up with reciprocal. So
Oh,
you can imagine all the different rewords in between. Right now, we're also using the book. I use it in my mastermind, and my mastermind has got 12 sessions. So we are using each session that we gather, we're using another chapter, another reword. And the gals go away and they do the work that's in the book, the work that needs to be done for that, those 2 weeks. And they come back, and I tell you that we're now going into our sixth session,
hmm
and the first 5 sessions, there wasn't a dry eye.
hmm
Somebody came and said, "This book, Clarissa, has changed my life. Thank you."
hmm
Someone else came in and they had issues, and we all powwow, we sisterhood around her, whoever it might be in the moment that's having that moment that really needs a little bit of love and attention. We do that, and so the book is bringing up things that you may know that you need to work on, and it's bringing up things you completely forgot you needed to work on, and things you didn't even know you had to work on. So
Right.
it's powerful in that way.
Got it. That's so beautiful. So what I'm hearing is that now is the time, like we are all esteemed beings. And if we have forgotten that, it's time to remember. And your book is a pathway for which to do that. So is there anything else that you would like a listener to know before we sign off?
No, I think the other thing is, remember that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and boundaries are very important. And sometimes setting up your boundaries, and that doesn't mean angry. It means you can do it with ease, grace and glory. But to set up boundaries that feel comfortable for you, no matter what they may be. And sometimes that means some people are going to either get their nose out of joint, or they're going to have hurt feelings, or they're just going to fall away. And
Mhm,
that's a tough one. That's
mhm.
a very painful one.
Yeah,
But
I
as
think
I said
everybody is
before,
different. Yeah.
as I said before, the work that is to be done in this book for your greater good, for your highest self, is not always going to be comfortable,
Mhm.
but it's going to be life altering.
And it becomes more comfortable with practice. And imagine a world where more and more people are living from this place of being an esteemed being.
Exactly.
Very different world. So where can
Absolutely.
people get your book, Clarissa?
Well, they can find it at Barnes and Noble. They can find it on Amazon.
Great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the
Yeah.
Self-Esteem Regime by Clarissa Burt. Go get your
Yeah.
copy today and start implementing. We need you.
Thanks,
Thank
Lori. I'm
you.
so
Thank you so
appreciative of
much.
you. Thanks so much.